Have you ever thought about this? Imagine a piece of crucial, world-changing technology was invented, and then just completely lost, only to be reinvented more than 1,000 years later. Now, this isn't some sci-fi plot. It's the real story of ancient mathematics. And it's a story that asks a pretty wild question. Are we centuries behind where we could have been? Okay, so here's the puzzle at the heart of it all. On one hand, you've got medieval Europe struggling to do basic calculations with these super clunky Roman numerals, and on the other, you've got the ancient world, not just with advanced math, but tinkering with the actual concepts of calculus. It wasn't just a gap in knowledge, it was a chasm. So what happened? How on earth does the world just forget how to do math?
Well, believe it or not, the answer starts with a ghost. Not a literal ghost, but a ghost hidden in a text. And that ghost's name is Archimedes. He's the key to unlocking this whole incredible mystery.
So in this lost work of his called The Method, Archimedes was doing something incredible. He was using concepts like infinity, slicing up shapes into these impossibly thin pieces to figure out their area and volume. If that sounds familiar, it should. That's the foundation of calculus, the mathematical tool that wouldn't be formally invented in Europe for another 1,500 years. So you're probably asking, okay, if it was lost, how do we even know about it? Great question, and the answer is this really cool word, palimpsest. See, back in the day, parchment was super expensive. So what would a medieval monk do if he needed a new page? He'd just take an old book, scrape the ink off, and write his own stuff right over it. In this case, a prayer book. But, and this is the amazing part, the scraping wasn't perfect. Like a faint echo, traces of the original writing were left behind, a literal hidden message from the past. And the journey of this one manuscript, oh man, it is a thriller. It starts around 250 BCE when Archimedes writes his masterpiece. More than 1,000 years go by, and somebody erases it. Then, in the 13th century, it gets covered up with prayers. For hundreds of years, one of the greatest mathematical works in history was just sitting on a shelf, completely hidden in plain sight, until, finally, a scholar uncovered it in 1906. Can you even imagine that discovery? Let that number sink in for a minute. 1,500 years. That's how big of a head start Archimedes had on Newton and Leibniz. The sheer scale of that intellectual leap is just, it's staggering. It's almost hard to wrap your head around. But here's the thing. This incredible story of the Archimedes Codex isn't just about one lost book. As amazing as that is, no, this book is a symptom. It's a clue that points to a much, much bigger problem. A complete break in a chain of knowledge that should have stretched across generations. You know, we all hear about the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and yes, that was an absolute catastrophe. But the loss wasn't just one bad day. It was more like a slow, systemic decay. All these incredible centers of learning, they started to fall apart. And as they disappeared, that living chain of teaching and debating and discovering that connected brilliant minds, it just snapped. And this is what that looks like. It lays the whole void bare. You've got Archimedes over here doing his thing. Then, around 400 CE, everything starts to crumble in Europe. And after that, basically silence. A 1,500-year gap before Newton and Leibniz finally arrive at the very same ideas. A millennium and a half of potential progress, just wiped out. The contrast between these two eras is just night and day. In the Hellenistic world, knowledge was interconnected. They were doing this incredibly sophisticated math. And thankfully, scholars in the Islamic world preserved so much of it. But in medieval Europe, knowledge became fragmented, specialized. Math actually went backward. So they were forced to spend centuries just rediscovering things their ancient predecessors already knew. They had to climb a mountain that had already been summited. And this is where the story starts to get a little unsettling. I mean, if we came that close to losing Archimedes' work forever by pure chance, it forces you to ask a really chilling question. What else did we lose? What other breakthroughs just vanished completely, leaving no trace behind? I mean, look at this. Of Archimedes' his method, his incredible proto-calculus text, we have exactly one known surviving copy. One. And its survival was a total accident. One single, scraped-up, overwritten book is our only link to this entire branch of ancient thought. It's a shocking reminder of just how fragile knowledge really is. So you have to wonder about the other ghosts, right? What if there were Greek mathematicians who'd made huge breakthroughs in 3D geometry? Or what if they had deeper theories about numbers or computational methods we've never even dreamed of? Is it possible that entire fields of mathematics, fields we can't even imagine, just went up in smoke with the scrolls of Alexandria? And all of this brings us to one final, really powerful thought. If that 1,500-year gap had never happened, if that chain of knowledge had never been broken, where would we be today? It's impossible to know for sure, of course, but it forces us to consider, are we centuries behind where we should be? It's a thought that is both incredibly humbling and just a little bit terrifying.